I'm so excited to be here to share 3 ideas that build real confidence. 3 things that really make the difference between those days where you doubt everything about yourself and those days where you're on fire. Those days where you suck and those days where you're absolutely crushing it. And now before I get to those steps and before I introduce myself, I want to introduce you to Brody. Brody is my puppy. He looks cute. He's a psychopath. Arguably, the most excited dog I think I've ever met. To give you an idea, when friends come over, people come visit, Brody gets so excited, he can't contain himself, and he pees all over them. It's his version of like a warm welcome. Don't laugh at that sucked. And regardless of what's going on in the world, raining outside, Brody's really excited. Economy's down by 20%, he's stoked. Doesn't get a text back, this guy cannot be brought down. Now here's the main difference between Brody and all of us. He doesn't really need a reason to be excited or to be enthusiastic or to bring great energy. Oftentimes as people, we do. And we make the way that we feel conditional on what's happening around us only when I go on that trip. Only when I'm at convention. Only when it's the weekend. And we wait for a lot of these only if and only when moments that never come. See, high energy moments in life are not found. They're created. And confident people understand that the number one skill set that they have is that they bring great energy, even when it's hard. The truth that not a lot of people want to say is that it is so easy to feel good here. It is really easy when you're around 35,000 or 50,000 or 70,000 other blue jackets that will support your ideas, support your dreams, support your goals. What happens when you're back at home? What happens when you're not here? Because some of you, honestly, sitting in this room, have lofty goals. But as people, we will not rise to the level of our goals. We will fall to the level of our energy. And have you noticed how people kind of bond over being tired? Have you noticed that? It's hilarious whenever I'm traveling to an event and a flight is delayed by like 20 minutes. And people think it's the end of the world. And they'll turn to me and they'll go, oh, can you believe this? They don't understand I'm the wrong person to turn to. Because I turn back to them and I'm like, oh, I know. We're about to get on a plane around $150 million. When we get on that plane, a pilot that has trained for almost half a decade is going to take us up to 30,000 feet. And once we get up there, we get to unbuckle our seatbelts and they're going to give us snacks. We've lost perspective. Isn't it true that a lot of the problems that we have are things that other people would be grateful for? And I'm not saying that to discount our problems. I think your problems are very valid. But if we fight for the challenges and the problems we have, we get to keep them. All of us have really good reasons to be exhausted. But if we fight for those reasons, we get to keep them. So be the person that lights up a room. Be the person that brings such great energy, it makes everyone's day. It's about saying, I'm going to be enthusiastic even if people are tired. I'm going to bring the fire even if everyone seems tapped out because your energy is infectious and it will help other people find energy for their own lives and their goals. Our number one goal needs to be to raise our level of energy so that we can contribute to an environment people are excited to be a part of. Now, I'm just realizing that I didn't really introduce myself. Now, I want to be clear. I am not a professional athlete. I'm not an Olympian. I'm not an influencer. You're welcome. But what I am, honestly, is a case study. Because at the beginning, I was the opposite of every idea I'm about to share. I had no confidence. I had no energy, but I figured something out. That my life wasn't going to be a result of the big decisions I made. It was going to be a result of the small ones. Now, I do not know your story. But what I do know is that for every single person in this room, myself included, we are all a few decisions away from a completely different life. We are a few decisions away from a completely different level of confidence. And your confidence will come down to 3 decisions. We already talked about one, to bring great energy. The second is to be courageous. Now, a moment this past year where I needed a little bit of courage was I recently got engaged. Thank you to like 11 of you. And my fiance and I, Gabby, decided to celebrate with a trip to Hawaii. And Hawaii in the house, let's go. And she had the genius idea of going open water shark diving. I was like, babe, I don't think we want to do that. And she was like, I booked it and it's unrefundable. I was like, okay. We get out to the island of Oahu. On day 2, we travel to the north shore of the island, home of the Bonsai Pipeline, an infamous set of waves that surfers from all over the world land on Oahu every surf season, waves that regularly get to 20 and 30 feet high, literal buildings in the water. And that's where we're going swimming. It's like, okay, we get down to the marina. We are greeted by 4 20-somethings doing yoga beside a boat. I go up to one of the guys and I was like, hey, is this for Deep Blue Eco Tours? And he was like, yeah, totally. It's like, okay, I'm not really feeling confident right off the bat. We get in this boat, it's me, Gabby, 3 other people on the tour, and 4 people on the dive team. Get in this boat, and we head 3 miles out into open ocean. On the way out, the lead diver explains there are 3 rules for success in order to have a safe dive. Rule number 1, when you're getting in the water, make sure you don't jump in the water because then you'll mimic food. Instead, make sure to slide in. I was like, I don't really know the difference between a jump and a slide. That feels really close together. He goes, rule number 2. When you're in the water, this is critically important. When you're in the water, make sure to always keep eye contact with the sharks at all times. I don't know if you've seen a shark recently, but their eyes are on the side of their face. And I'm wearing goggles, so I don't understand the assignment. Then he goes, rule number 3. I was like, oh, I can't wait for this. Whatever you do, make sure under no circumstance, do not swim directly above, below, beside, behind, or in front of any of the sharks. I was like, what else is left? And I'm really nervous, so then I asked one of the other divers, and I was like, hey, just taking a poll, have you had any accidents? I kid you not. He looks at me, not smiling, gives me deadpan stare, and he goes, we have a pretty good record. I was like, pretty good doesn't sound like perfect, Frank. That's not going to be good enough. We get out 3 miles out to a buoy in the middle of the ocean. They explain that what we're going to do is we are going to go forward and backward and forward and backward to create this white water. Because there's these crab boats that fish off of the coast of Oahu. And what they do is they throw hundreds of defective crab over, and while they're fishing, they create this white water. So the sharks in the area have this learned behavior that when they see that white water, it means that crab is coming into the water, and that means that it's time to eat. So we're going to create that white water, convince the sharks that we're a crab boat, and then you're going to jump in. And I'm like, I hear the words you're saying, but I just don't like them, or you. We literally go forward, backward, forward. Almost immediately, 10 plus sharks start circling the boat. Not like 10 feet away, like thrashing against the side of the boat. Their fins are sticking up out of the water. They're circling the boat. They kind of look hungry, not even sure what that looks like. The captain looks at me, arguably the least qualified person on the boat. And he goes, "All right, get in." I look at Gabby because this was her idea. And I was like, "Babe, do you want to go ahead?" And she was like, "You're going." It's like, "You're a motivational speaker. You talk about confidence." I was like, "Don't use my career against me. Please." I'm sitting on that back panel of the boat. I have these 2.5 foot long flippers. I'm wearing goggles. I look ridiculous. I slide into the water. I don't jump in. I put on my goggles. The fins are still circling. I look down. And I see probably 13 to 14 sharks circling from 5 feet below me to 25 feet below me, where you could almost only see their silhouette. It was the wildest thing I've ever experienced. And then Gabby gets in the water. And now I'm trying to keep close tabs on Gabby because I'm trying to protect the queen. And probably 10 minutes into the dive, I look over and I lose sight of Gabby. Can't see her anywhere. I look to my left, I look to my right, I can't see her anywhere, I can't find her. I pop up out of the water, I take off my goggles, I can't see her because the swells in open ocean are so big, I can't even see her, I can't see the boat. Start really freaking out, and I look back down, I can't see anything. I pop back up, I take off my goggles, I look over, the swells took up the boat, and I see 20 feet away, I see Gabby, and she's on the boat. She left me to die. I was like, "I trusted you. What is this?" I swim around, I get back on the boat, and it was arguably one of the wildest experiences of my life. But what really stood out to me was this. Everyone reported the exact same thing. Terrified before, but as soon as we got in the water, it was such an engaging experience that the fear didn't really matter. And I believe that the reason why fear stops so many people is because it doesn't even let them judge the experience for themselves. See, they have that dream, they have that goal, they have that thing that they want to do, but they see it from a distance, it looks scary, they doubt themselves, and then they ultimately sit on the sidelines of their life. It is not about overcoming your fears. I think that is terrible advice. It's about building a better relationship with them. See, they've done brain scans that show fear and courage actually coexist. Courage is found in your willingness to put yourself into the moment of fear. Confidence is being bold enough to say, "I'm not ready. Maybe I'm going to fail. What if they don't like it? What if I mess up? What if they judge me?" And going forward anyways. For all of us, there is one thing that stands in the way between us and everything that we want and the ultimate version of ourselves and that confident person that we'd like to be: self-doubt. So where have you been doubting yourself? Maybe for you it's that, I'm a little different. Or maybe it's the fear of not being enough that holds you back. Or maybe you feel like you have this goal that you genuinely don't know if you can hit. Whatever weakness you have has no say in your ability to live a great life. Your weaknesses are potential strengths waiting for the voice of confidence to say, "Hey, you're worth it. You matter. You're actually awesome," because some of you let your weaknesses define who you are and your actions, as opposed to seeing a weakness as a signal. See, confident people experience doubt like everyone else. They just see it as a sign to keep going. They see it as a sign, a signal to grow and to get better. Growing up, I used to be terrified of talking to people, which is kind of weird that we're here doing this now. I was mortified. My first speech was for 170-year-olds at 7 in the morning while they ate breakfast. And I was 19. I forgot what I said. It was awful. You've got to be able to invest in the weaknesses that you have to turn them into strengths. Leadership is about showing up and saying, I'm going to be courageous even when no one else decides to be. Every failure of leadership is a lack of courage. If you want to be more courageous, it's about putting yourself into the moment of fear.